Right, we've got him on the line. Bongani Baloyi, the Mayor of the Midvaal Local Municipality. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on this very important platform.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. Listen, how do you do it? I mean, it was 2013 when you took over as the mayor, and you were said to be the youngest mayor in South Africa at the time. And you make it seem like it's actually an easy job, but you're one of the only ones that can actually do it, and there are many of you in these positions. What is it that you do differently?
Look, I think from our side, the secret for Midvaal is actually an open secret. I just do my work, and my team does the same as well. And we move from a point of departure of understanding what our core business is as an institution, which is to serve our residents as public servants. So we strive up and we allocate resources towards this important goal of improving the lives of our people, improving service delivery, and running a watertight ship.
So you focus on the people, is what you're saying. You focus on the work at hand. But I mean, it's been 7 years of clean audits now, and throughout your mayorship, and now you are on your 8th year. So the reality is that, you know, it is something that you've managed to actually create a machine that is working. And so many different communities in South Africa and municipalities feel that this is the problem. It just does not work. How do you get it to work? How do you clean out the system?
Well, firstly, I think we must start from the point of view that our communities are directly responsible for the leadership that they elect and the state of municipalities. I think we must make that exception first. And secondly, one needs to ensure that you elect the best people into these offices to run this country and municipalities, because it's a very important job and very complex. So once you're there, you need to ensure that you invest in the necessary systems and processes in place to enhance and create an environment for good governance, and to ensure that you deeply inculcate it so it becomes an institutional culture, just like we have done in Midvaal, where there's been a continuous trajectory of growth over the years, and there hasn't been any trajectory of a slippery slope where we negatively on a down slope. So we've ensured on our side that we employ the best of public officials that we find, and that we don't run the institution on the basis of cadre deployment or even corrupt networks. In fact, in our whole term of office, we've been working actively to destroy anything that looks like a criminal network that is capturing the municipality or doing nefarious or malfeasance.
Yeah, but how? And that's the big question, because when you speak to a lot of individuals that work particularly in municipalities, they just tell you it's just the way things are done. It is cadre deployment, it is underhanded payments, it is things that are there, it's just a legacy that continues, and nobody steps up to change it. And in fact, some that want to change it fail dismally because they're just too many forces working against them. So again, I ask you, probably the third time in a different angle that I'm asking, because I'm hoping that maybe there are lessons to be learned in this. How do you stop with these issues in terms of the corruption, the cadre deployment? And how do you remain in a position where you are, you know, unequivocally saying that you will not get involved in that and you are there to do a job, and yet it doesn't seem to be the narrative in many other places?
Well, firstly, I don't want to embarrass my mother. That's the first and foremost.
I like that.
The second response is that you need a strong center. Everything is a function of leadership. So when leadership collapses, you'll see as things are manifesting, even then as at SABC, with various people being retrenched. Everything is a function of leadership. And once you put a weak center, these things are prone to then infiltrate and start showing in different forms and shapes as well. And there has to be clear and decisive consequence management. So you must publicly show what you do to people who are corrupt, where there's allegations. So we've been able to investigate without fear or favor, and then not thinking what people retaliate and say and do and accuse me of various things, because I know I've done my work, I'm doing my work, and I'm ensuring that I protect the municipality and act in its best interest. That is the same type of leadership we need across our provincial government and also our national government. And I generally believe that a number of young people are capable in doing so. So a number of young people, I hope that if there's one thing I've been able to do is to inspire young people to stop being cannon fodder and chanters and slogan chanters of these old people who call themselves leaders, but to actually get to the forefront and start shaping their future that they are building for their children. So there's one thing I hope to exactly that to inspire other young leaders to get into this space.
You know how refreshing it is to speak, firstly speaking to you and also looking at a photograph of you, and I imagine people that live in your municipality are very proud that you are their mayor, and the way that you are speaking and the things that you are saying, and also the youth, as you are saying, an example that there is hope, because it feels like, you know, the way things are running at the moment, that hope is being lost right now. What are your qualifications? I mean, let's talk to that. How did you get into what you're doing?
Well, I was fortunate that I was part of the mayoral committee in 2011 when we started. So I understood what the collective goal was. So when the former mayor, Timothy Ness, got out of office to pursue other opportunities, I was still doing my undergrad for business administration, which I've completed. So we continued in that trajectory. I was able to get in there, apply myself into this institution to be able to understand this very complex environment. And we ensure that we keep a very strong team, a stable management, which has a sufficient experience to help us through these difficult times. We will stabilize and be able to start laying the solid foundation for the growth that we're experiencing today.
Yeah.
But it's been consistency. We've not reinvented the wheel. We just did our work, and that's what South Africans want as a bare minimum for us as public servants, to just do our work and to ensure that before we come up with these fantastic dreams of building cities in the sky and all of these things must just work now. There must be water, there must be reliable electricity, our roads must be pothole-free. Things must just work.
Yeah, and these are the basics, Mayor, that you're talking to. I mean, these are written in our human rights, and yet we're not receiving them. You know, the reason why I asked you in terms of your qualifications, your experience, and leading into it, is that there is so much argument, and it's something as well that the Auditor-General speaks to as well, that there are people that are in positions, and the President has spoken to it as well, that these are the things that need to change, that there are people that are in positions that are actually clueless. You have accounting officers in municipalities that have nothing or no clue about accounting, and this is where the problem starts to come in. So when we talk to people, the right people, put in the right positions, we may very well see the right outcomes. Is that a kind of sense that you believe in?
Absolutely. I go back to the point I made earlier on, that everything is a function of leadership. With a very strong center and a stable leadership, you manifest a particular type of environment where good governance is adhered to, where systems are put in place and processes where people are appointed on the basis of their competence and not connection. Mm-hmm. So once you put a very weak leadership that cannot tell a difference between water and oil in a municipal environment, what do you expect? So some of these things, I think I must also insist that we also have a very weak active citizenry across the country and province. It's only when citizens get up, when things are really bad, that they decide to get up and go to march on the streets, while active citizenry should be a constant feature throughout our term of office, where communities in the various formations insist on accountability, insist on transparency. If they start asking these things earlier on and consistently, it will create an environment where thieves cannot thrive in this environment. But we also, as citizens, have reneged on our responsibility by trusting politicians too much.
Yeah. I mean, I look around the municipality that I live in, and I'm in the city of Johannesburg, and it's getting to a point where it's actually embarrassing. You walk around, you drive around. Firstly, there are potholes that it's literally become an extreme sport to drive on roads in Johannesburg. There are days where there is just absolutely no electricity. You drive on roads where traffic lights have been out and not working for weeks, if not months. Buildings are not maintained. You look at the grass that municipalities should be fixing, cleaning, making sure that the city is something to be proud of, and yet it's not. There's litter everywhere, everything is overgrown. It has just become something that is embarrassing, to say the least. And I mean, I remember having a slogan, what was it, a world-class African city or something. It's anything but that, and I say that because I do live here and I watch this falling apart. Service delivery is at the heart of all of this, because it just appears that that is not happening. We blame everything on coronavirus, and yet it cannot be blamed on that. The basics can be fixed. What does a clean audit mean? For us that are not necessarily auditors and we don't work in an office, what is a correlation between clean audit and service delivery?
there's a direct correlation between clean audit and service delivery. The Auditor-General evaluates 3 areas. The first part is the financial aspect and the compliance with the MSMA. The second part deals with the compliance of all municipal regulations and laws that are put in place. And the third part, which is probably one of the most important, deals with the performance the audit of the performance information, which is basically where, as municipalities, we approve in our IDP and say, we will tar X amount of roads, we will increase electricity provision to this rate, and water, and build so many roads, build so many reservoirs. So when they find that you claim to have delivered 13 reservoirs in your municipality, and whilst there's only 2 that have been built, but money has been paid to the value of the 13, then there's corruption which is manifesting in the municipality. So if you deliver on those and the Auditor-General evaluates and they audit and they see that everything that you've claimed to have achieved, you have achieved that, but you've also followed the MSMA in appointing whom you appoint, and there was nothing in the malfeasance in complying with any of municipal regulations. So there is a direct correlation between good, clean audit outcomes and service delivery.
Yeah. So just as I start wrapping up this conversation, we remember back in 2018, the Murani report on political killings in KwaZulu-Natal basically came out and said there's clear evidence that being elected a mayor is seen as an opportunity to access resources and seen as an upward mobility and social status because there are no barriers to entry. Anyone can work as a councillor or a mayor. When we look at those kind of findings, have you ever been approached? Has anyone ever come to you with some irregular idea or wanting to bribe you or try and get you involved in corruption? Have you been faced with opportunities like that?
In the beginning of my career, I did experience that with the insinuation of doing things and people approaching you and thinking that they put in alcohol and invite you to parties, and such conversations can mature, which I've resisted because I've never been a person who enjoys those things in any case. And I've been very clear from the onset of that I want to follow my conviction and actually work towards improving my own community. And I firmly agree with the recommendations or some of the statements made in the study just referred to, because there is no minimum standard for local government. I could be a common thief who's leading a march and burning tires in the community today, and by the 7th of November, I'm the executive mayor because I've been the one who's seen as a more vocal, more brave, and a community leader. Now imagine the type of leadership that will manifest as an outcome of that. So I firmly believe that one of the ways to professionalize the sector is to ensure that there is a minimum benchmark for all of us, and not just anyone can come in and be mayor or even a councillor and preside over such important municipal resources.
Mayor, we leave it there. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the work that you're doing, and I hope that this is a glimpse into the future leaders that we have here in South Africa that are going to change the trajectory and are going to put the foot down and say, no, that's not the way I operate things. Bongani Baloyi, Executive Mayor of the Midvaal Local Municipality, sharing insights regarding his winning strategy demonstrated by clean audits throughout the 7 years of his mayoral career. All right, 8:30. Let's quickly get those news headlines to you.